longer than I was expecting to spend away. Also, I probably should have explained that I was resetting rather than just yell as soon as an SQL video comes up and abruptly finish off. But we do have encoding options now. So, half an hour past the time when I said I was going to be late for, we are ready to go with a new update to Industries of Titan. And because there have now been multiple little announcements saying that I am enjoying the new update, now's not a bad time for me to mention that I was given a copy of the game from Brace Yourself Games. I'm obviously very grateful for that. But streaming a game can be viewed as an endorsement, as well as the fact that I'm already saying I'm enjoying it, and I do enjoy this game. This is actually a really good game. But as always, this is one of these things where you want to be upfront about it. I'm saying this now because I know there's going to be the cinematic for the game popping up in a moment. And I'm also trying to find the patch notes. Where'd you go? But in any case, I do apologize. It's been very rough sort of sleep and just overall health-wise. Just in terms of I don't exactly have a cold, but it does still kind of make me feel a little miserable, whatever it is. But I don't want that to get in the way of doing streams, because I believe this is the first one for 2022. I'm off to a good start, as you can see. Okay. It's going to take a second because I have not yet gotten rid of that very large file in Unreal, in Epic Launcher, but it should still load.
Titan. Everyone comes to Titan with a dream. Our moon is one of limitless wealth. There are ancient riches here for those with the strength to claim them. But some dreams start smaller. A better life. More dignity, more comfort. Today, Titan is a place where you can buy those dreams, where anyone can profit. But it isn't easy. You have to prove yourself here. Those who settle here take that risk. And without their diligent labor, our power grid would fail. Pollution would overwhelm us. And our trade would collapse. It's hard work, but on Titan, hard work isn't enough. The bold, the strong, those are the people Titan rewards. Those are the ones who see their dreams through. Exceptional people. Friends to the Council. That is why we're giving you this opportunity, Founder. We expect great things from you. Make sure you live up to our expectations.
Still don't get tired of that intro. So, Happy New Year, everyone. I am sorry I'm not coming to you in better circumstances, but I It's a bit of a tough day today, and I'm doing my best to make sure that I keep the stream kind of going. So on Monday, I didn't stream because of the holiday. Technically, it's a holiday for me, and I'm really trying to do my best to make sure I give myself those. But the good news, I suppose, from a broadcasting point of view, is that we're now entering sort of a couple of months of despair where there's absolutely no holidays or other breaks. And the weather is miserable and usually negative double digits. That's Celsius, for those of you who haven't quite gotten into the modern era. But I suppose in those environments, it does lead me to probably want to be indoors and streaming more anyway. But we have Industries of Titan. Now, one regret I have is that even though they introduced new victory conditions in the last patch, I stumbled over my ability to get through the game and to add a couple of extra streams to get through a single playthrough at the pace that I normally play. So you've not actually yet played the game through to a proper end with the new victory conditions, and there have been some more victory conditions added in the new update. So we will take a look at the new roadmap. We will take a look at the patch notes. I'm going to clear out my old saves, and then we're going to enjoy update 18. So January update, more tech web nodes, more tech web sub tiers, more victory points, new rebel ships, various UI improvements. Previously done, new corporate goals, victory points, tech web scrap actions, jobs UI improvements, research advisors, VO, VFX improvements, game over path to Zen mode, map gen updates, and more. And then coming soon, career progression, new weather, new rebel ship layouts, new corporate goals, and the planned future updates: wind, fire, temperature, advanced factory modules, liquids, drinks, clubs, food, farm, hunger, healthcare and hospitals, leisure and happiness, rival corporations, new factions, council interactions, spaceport interactions, so additional, combat devices, combat ship types, enemy types, music, and if you didn't think that was comprehensive enough, there's more coming as well. So actually, I'm gonna clear, I don't even remember which one was the huge save, so in this case, let's just clear it all out. Apologies to, actually, two apologies to QA, because I also think Soggy Newspaper might be Bahar, and I think also apologies to Lulu, because I think I say Lulu is Soggy Newspaper, but it might be Bahar is, and for some reason I mixed the two up. Anyways, I really feel like I have been misidentifying a couple of people who stop by the stream every once in a while, or like say, I say hi in the Brace Yourself chat, and I feel like an idiot, so I apologize. Okay, there we go. No video this time, but for those of you who like that sort of a thing, I highly recommend the Brace Yourself Twitch channel, because they did go over all of the new features. I showed up late, so I'm stuck reading it the old-fashioned way, but that's a secret plan on my part anyway. So patch 0.210 released on January 4th. Update 18, content pack. Patch highlights. New tech nodes, new techs to unlock, new tech sub-tiers, get more important tech earlier, new corporate goals. This one actually I did hear them talking about, and I liked what the kind of the problem that they were describing and what they were trying to solve with it. Essentially, you can kind of see that there were some of the cool new toys that were brought into the new tech nodes in the last patch, but sometimes the paths to them were a little winding, and particularly when you're short on red artifacts for other uses. For instance, getting workers, which maybe you would put inside of your research center to make the research faster. It meant that some things that you would really want and potentially benefit from were sort of locked away in parts of the map, which were, even with the destruction of nodes, not necessarily something that was feasible. So I think that's one thing that they're working on with that. New corporate goals, new ways to achieve victory, and an improved UI, better information to run your city corp, and more. Industries of Titan is in early access, which means that we are actively updating and adding new content based on our roadmap and your wonderful feedback. Because of the holiday, this update is a bit lighter compared to other months. You can expect to see the next Titan Tuesday on February the 1st. I don't know why, but it really feels like it really feels like the like Titan Tuesday has shifted a week. I was caught by surprise that this one was coming, and I mean they announced them well in advance, but I always kind of felt like I had 1 week in the first month, and I don't really feel like I do have that anymore. So I'm probably just letting it all run together in my head. See the full patch notes below. Changes as of 0.210, and a little Saturn indicates changes due to community feedback. Tech web subtiers, important techs, are weighted so that they spawn closer to the center. You will need to start a new game for these updates to take effect. New tech web nodes, conversion, waste generation reduction. Citizen waste generation reduction, 2 tiers. Burrow cost reduction, migrant ship travel time reduction. That's a really interesting one. And employee salary reduction. Oh, I gotta see what name they give that. New victory points, total tiles claimed, current trucks. The nice way of thinking about this, by the way, is that this is technology that is making your workers more efficient, and so you're getting more done with less rather than just like running in and like slashing everyone's salaries. But let's face it, this is Industries of Titan, and they're totally cutting people's salaries. New victory points, total tiles claimed, current trucks. This is neat. Total ruins surveyed, current resource nodes mined, current minerals, current isotopes, both in construction units, and current activated inert ruins. I actually like the idea of current trucks just because I remember I have a tendency to buy a lot of trucks that I don't necessarily need. So I like the fact that I can achieve victory just by continuing to build up my pile of idle trucks. And of course, when they're idle trucks, that doesn't mean they're unused trucks. I'll like still keep the trucks running and putting out exhaust because, you know. Updated tooltips and panels, credits and citizen management. Updated the tooltip for credits to more accurately show projected earnings. This is a neat one. I mean, I've kind of generally I just think in broad strokes on this anyway, and then I kind of make a best guess, or I at least wait until after the payday. But I've seen how this works, and this will actually help you make sort of up to the minute decisions. I have to assume this actually took some effort to make as well, so I appreciate that that this was added, especially because you know it's a little community sign beside it. Updated the credit section in the citizen management panel to reflect changes made to the credits tooltip. TechWeb updated research panels, so clicking on Discover Technology centers the camera on them. Only works while in the TechWeb view. The TechWeb icon in the top left of the hub will display a ready when there is no research or scrap action taking place. Employees updated the employee and ship management panels with a toggle to enable and disable editing of priorities. And advisors updated the advisor panel to show what advice they will give you when you call them. Miscellaneous changes. Save games can now be loaded by double-clicking. Added headers to the market cap details on the victory screen. No longer able to bill on damaged floor tiles in ships. Construction and ruin jobs will now show a flag indicating that there are no available employees to complete the task if there are no free employees. I have a feeling that this probably is in response to a lot of like bug reports about sort of locked up employees when in fact it was just overwhelmed employees. And obviously I do my absolute best to, for myself, say when it's the fact that I just don't have enough labor as opposed to the game not responding correctly. But again, you know, particularly in Sims, if it's not necessarily a game where you, the founder of the city corp, are going to be running in and like grabbing a worker by the collar and dragging them off to the work order you submitted. But if your expectation is that things happen the second you say them, that's probably going to lead to the perception that the game is not responding the correct way. So I suspect that this is something to help communicate why things are or are not working. Well, I mean, that's basically what that tooltip says. And the time increase for each completed research scrap task has been reduced by 20%. So this is kind of interesting. I always felt that my lack of progress through the research tree, well, one is just sort of the way that I play, but also it was more so due to the fact that I kept forgetting that jobs were done. So I'm interested in seeing how this. Well, I guess I can't do the comparison because I'll be getting the information at the same time that the reduction comes in. Anyways, we'll see. Fixes as of 21.0, fix an issue with some of Braxton's tutorial lines not triggering correctly, fix an issue with the spaceport storage, not having as much storage space as the UI indicated, fixes a Zethane overlay legend not having colors updated to match the new Zethane color, fix command area indicator changing shape when it overlaps the multi-tile object while placing a command center. I'm very sorry I'm not seeing so many of these. Or maybe I am and I'm just not paying close enough attention. Fix an issue with ship employees getting stuck with a repairing device task, no longer moving or operating devices. Fix an issue where a new blueprint could have more characters than a renamed blueprint. And fix an exploit that could allow you to generate infinite artifacts using conversion capsules. Well, that's a real shame that I didn't find that one. There was a really early video of me playing Dungeon of the Endless where I discovered an exploit like that. But I'm not normally good at doing that sort of thing. All right, on to a new game. We'll do standard mode. I like time contract, but I do notice because of the hardcore mode, that is what was causing that you're out of cloud space error on the part of in the Epic Launcher. And I'll do a normal difficulty one this time around. I would like to bump up to hard, and one day I will try Titan as well. But in this case here, I'm actually trying a little more. I'm not going to like go out of my way to completely change the way that I play, but I would really like to get to the ending of a run here. So, Landfallers. As Titan's gold rush ramped up, many startups and corporations from Earth, Mars, and the asteroid belt have scrambled to snap up ruin-rich land and start their own urban businesses. The Landfallers faction is the swirling, leaderless group of striving hopefuls from across the system. They're people who dream big and have probably tasted failure. They also share a common hyper-capitalist culture. Landfallers are motivated by their perilous position and the more powerful rewards of success. Every once in a while, these ventures can be incredibly successful. A few are already on their way to becoming full-fledged factions on Titan. Will you be the one that leads them to system dominance? One thing I do think that would be kind of interesting about this about the factions, this is probably a little bit more than... I mean, if you look at the roadmap, this game is certainly not lacking in ambition. But given that we've got a couple of techs now that do things like reduce wages, it would be interesting, depending on what the kind of the differences between the factions are, whether or not... I mean, this isn't unique. This wouldn't be unique to Titan, obviously. There's a lot of strategy games that do this, but your faction will determine access to certain technologies. So in the case of the Landfallers, right, you can sort of say, well, you know, prices that the market will bear, so on and so forth. And you can imagine people maybe not being willing, but like just that being something that happens within a particular faction. Whereas one that doesn't share that hyper-capitalist culture might not be as willing to accept such a change, and as a result, the technology wouldn't be adopted. Anyways, not something for us to worry about today, because apparently I think it was during the Steam launch stream, they were talking, apparently somewhere it has been discussed what one of the new factions is going to be. And I think I just call them like the creepy vampire people on the other side of the moon. But anyways, we will save that for a future, the update whenever it comes through. And hello, Olaf. Thank you very much for the host. I'm sorry, I'm a little all over the place. I had some trouble getting the stream started. I haven't been feeling 100% today, and I am still trying to do my Apple Fitness Plus stuff, but because I had like a rough day and couldn't get stuff done at the times that I wanted to do them, I did it not that... I didn't do it all that far away from starting the stream. And it was a hard one. Like, it was one of those ones where I'm like, I'm sure these very nice people, like, they're very friendly, but I'm pretty sure they're also trying to kill me. So I'm still feeling a little out of it. I didn't like properly cool down or anything like that. I just sort of crashed into the very next thing I was doing. Okay, so we could say, new year, we should do a basic start with a standard investment. I'm actually mildly tempted to try this. We have Ruthless Opportunity. So in this case, sort of a high risk, high reward. Rugged Venture, which will have fewer resources. This, by the way, when I first tried it, actually was really interesting because it forced me to play in a very different way from what I normally do. Tranquil Trailblazing was added a few updates ago, so this one, I believe, is a... I think it's this one, the land is really scarce, but the resources aren't necessarily very low. Lake Rich area has resulted... Yeah, maybe this is a little bit simpler. Yeah, I guess it's different. Like Rugged Venture, you have the trade-off in terms of the amount of resources you have access to in exchange for the the lower rebel camps. Whereas this one has, like, it's not a cakewalk, but it does feel like there are fewer rebel camps, but maybe not quite the same restriction on resources. And then this ethane-rich land could prove a boon to an enterprising founder, especially for corporations with high energy requirements. So yeah, I am actually going to do standard investment, and this is because I want to... I know I've talked a couple of times about getting out of bad habits. The first one is going to be, and I've slowly moved towards this over the last few playthroughs, as much as I like my master plan base, I'm actually going to try and orient... I don't think I can orient completely towards a fast start, but I'm going to be taking advantage of more and smaller buildings to get started with. The exception might be sort of dormitories for my workers, and then following that I will... I don't know, we'll see. It's just nice to change things up a little bit and learn something new. I am going to disable tutorials, and I never did actually get to hear Braxton Dawes' voice lines, but maybe what we'll do is we'll manually jump into those. I'm trying to pick at random without looking. Paxson Solutions. Yeah, I'm gonna do my best to I don't know, try a few different approaches to the game. I'll probably just fall back into my bad habits, but we'll see. With no regulations on ship design or safety, aeronautical engineers should be one of Titan's most exciting careers. Sadly, the thrill is lost on employees, emotionless as they are after conversion.
Success. I hope you'll live up to our expectations.
I like to believe that when Ryan Clark hired Andy Nguyen to work on this, the very first words he said were, "I hope you live up to my expectations." Maybe he said "our," but anyways. So already new list. Actually, I can kind of see why they would do this. So I do a little bit of a change to my ruin setup. I put extract above survey, and it's for the same reason that you put repair, construct, and ruins ahead of, say, processing or whatever. It's generally when you push something like I want to explore a ruin, you kind of want that to happen right away. Or like, I want to repair something. If you push that button, generally you expect people to start getting to work on it right away. And what I tended to find was I do like sort of working out this circle for myself. I like to have my employees working on things right away. Oops. Just put that at the bottom of the queue. The drawback to this is that if you have survey ruins above extract ruins, what happens is they will explore all of the ruins, and you sit there waiting for, the jobs to finish. So we'll start by salvaging some ruins. So this will generate a little waste for us, but that's nothing to cry about. I'll probably hang on to these for now. I may take them for artifacts. It depends on what our access for... I mean, we seem to be doing okay for isotopes and minerals, but we'll take a look. This inert ruin, it's a sensor, so not the most exciting inert ruin that I could get, but not terrible either. We're close to a crevice, so we're doing okay energy-wise. What else do I want to look for? I'm a little surprised they're not... Oh, sorry, salvaging. Oh. I put salvage... So, this is actually a perfect example of what I was talking about. I put extract above but not salvage. So notice how these... I was like, oh, I wonder why they're not working on it. It's because salvage was below survey. So I'm actually going to put salvage above extract. The rest of it I'm pretty happy with. I might move around the priorities depending on what happens to the... sort of the enterprise, but okay, what else was I looking for? I think I might want to hang on to my... I think I'm going to hang on to my influence to get to an isotopes extraction. I'm saying this because I noticed there's only a couple of ruins, like there's no pure isotope ruins. My apologies, there's one here, but it'll get me 4. Yeah, it's pretty clear that we're going to need to be extracting those over time. Okay. And as usual, sorry. I'm really scratchy, apparently. I may have to step away and get some water. I mean, it's a little funny that I am starting with a fuel fabricator and a generator because I don't have anything to run right now. But I suppose you got to build something, so this is that something. Also, fuel turbine and energy plant are my go-tos. Get a smokestack, and this time we'll put down a defense turret. Okay, we got a bunch of idle workers. That's not good. So let's take these for the artifacts. We already kind of committed to this overall plan. Now, I'll probably have some idle workers for a little while because I'm going to be putting the efforts into the isotopes the isotopes patch and not the mineral patches. It's a little bit of a shame. One thing I might consider doing is actually trading artifact for some influence to do that. We'll see. Well, first thing, we should probably get the spaceport. Yeah, we don't actually have enough after that. So we're going to wait the couple turns it takes. So this is already kind of a blunder in my view, because when you have a bunch of workers just standing around not doing anything, clearly you've messed up, right? Like you could have them building things, doing other productive activities, and instead they're all just kind of not generating anything for you. But we do have our isotopes patch now, so 23 is the highest. I wonder if there's an option like in the future where you could hold down like Control or Alt or something, and you would just get a quick numerical value on top of it. I mean, they do, in fairness, they do a good job of sort of communicating, like visually. I would expect that there's more isotopes here than here. So this is 19, this is 18. So I guess in this case, there's a really big visual difference between these two. But like the visual difference between, 23 and 22 and 19 and 23, maybe not so big. So, it'll give you a good sort of benchmark, but it's not perfect. Not that it has to be perfect, but yeah, it's something I noticed that I tend to what am I trying to say? I don't always I just manually check a bunch of tiles, and obviously if I had a whole bunch of isotope tiles within my borders, I'd probably be spending time doing things that I shouldn't be. So yeah, the decision to go isotopes first. So someone needs some coffee. I really do. But I'm trying to avoid that because my intention is to basically go to bed immediately after broadcasting. I really do need to make sure that I get a proper night's sleep. And by the way, I was not really paying attention. There are a few more isotope only. There's 4, 2... there's 6 here. So, like, with these on their own, I could have really financed quite a bit of activity right off the top. It's a shame, but... okay, so there is one old habit that I'm going to get... that I'm going to fall back into, and this is kind of making my dorms. So we're going to take a quick look at livability. We don't want to be too close to the council hall or the space bar. Oh, actually, it looks kind of like everything's pretty grim to live beside. Maybe we'll stick them here. So the idea is that I would like, if I can, I would like to be able to I'd like to be able to get sort of an income down a bit faster. And in the case of the factory, it's actually one that I'm willing to double up. Yeah, I mean, the more I think about it, right? Even the factory, I'm going to need minerals. We can try and snag some inexpensive ones. Yeah, so it'll give me 13, so this gives me a head start. At some point, I'm going to need to get somebody working on a minerals patch, but yeah, so in future, I shouldn't prioritize an isotopes patch right away because it means that my people sort of stand around waiting for me to give them orders in a way that's not very helpful. So I need the minerals to be able to build stuff initially, and I just need to find a better resource for isotopes. I also kind of want to be careful about my waste generation because I don't have a really good plan for that right now. There is one funny thing. I've always wondered, so we've got the council hall. I've wondered if there's, like, secretly, if you don't like the council, I always like the idea of just kind of putting the smokestack beside them. Because, like, you can't put the smokestack beside the spaceport. You'll cause an accident. Anyways, but yeah, so in future, I think probably my original, like, there's a conclusion that I drew quite some time back saying that really buzzing down the ruins is the best way to get access to the resources that you need to expand your enterprise. I still think that's true, but in this particular case, there's a ton of stuff that I need to build in here still to make this worthwhile, but... Oh, don't have enough for the energy bridge. But yeah, I don't know, just the first 10... Like, the ability to get three little extra minerals as opposed to just this steady stream coming in, to me, there's a pretty big difference. I think I might wait for the 20 here just so that I can, just so that I can get it done and have a worker working on it. But in future, I'm gonna put a heavier priority on. I don't think I did the right shape for this generator, but that's fine. I'm not gonna worry too much about it. This is all temporary anyway. So one of the first problems I'm going to run into is power with this setup. So I mean, these on their own, it's either 3 or 4 energy that's going to be demanded. In this case, this is really just about getting like a floor of income. Currently, we're spending 320. we will be, if we can generate a little bit more than that, so much the better. It also gives us sort of a foundation for some future workers. But I'm a little bit less worried about that. We're at 3, so I'm going to need more. I may step away for a little bit to get some more water, but what else do I want to do with this opening position? So I'm happy enough with where the isotopes are. I mean, if I wanted to be really, really specific in terms of what I'm doing, I'm not sure if this is the smartest choice I could be making right now, but I'm going to set up another factory and I'm going to get a refining operation down. So yeah, the more I think about it, the more the refining actually makes sense as the first thing to build. We do have enough for minerals, so we'll carry on here. So refining makes sense because it allows you to upgrade the fairly scarce resources that you have. And, you know, it lets you build factories and upgrade them a bit faster. It also takes up more of your workers, so instead of having 4 people idle, I have a bunch of people working on factories and such. I guess that brings me back to my original thing where I was always building the large versions at a time. But it works, right? So in any case, we got a worker working on each of these tiles now, so every 10 or 20 influence we're going to clear out some of the freebies. Well, they're not exactly free, but we'll clear out some of the ruins that have traits that I want, or that have minerals or isotopes that I want, but no artifacts. This is a very tempting one, actually. 17 is 6, 22, 4. And I think the isotope only, the kind of ship's flown away on that one, so. This is clearly the best. So before anything can happen, I have to put down an energy pylon. It's going to cover everyone. So I do need to put a little thought in terms of how I'm going to build this thing, because again, I'm not necessarily going to build the big, long, sort of snaky production line that I have. What I'm probably going to focus on this time around is building something that I can, like something a little more modular. It'd be nice if I had... Yeah, so I suppose that tells me the first thing I need to know, which is... Okay, well, we'll start with something like that. So the ideal design would be something that has an output. So I think already I've messed up and I probably want to rotate this thing. But the ideal design is something that 2 inputs, you know, there's a worker wherever, and the output goes directly into the next part. So, you know, we can build one here, and then I'm kind of allowing for a whole bunch of space around here. We'll see how it works. And again, like I said, all this stuff is temporary, because if nothing else, we'll just demolish it for to build a version that uses the more, you know, the more refined goods. You know what? I'm going to say that the factory is my bigger priority here. In fact, it's so much of a bigger priority that I'm willing to demolish up to and including the... I guess I could use the destroy all. I'll also dismantle this factory. This is just, it means that I'm going to be able to get some more resources a little bit faster. Okay, so we want an input for isotopes and minerals. Let's start with one for minerals. Am I doing this right? I hope I am. So one for minerals, one for isotopes, worker slot here, output here, and then I can probably put a waste module beside it. We'll see if it works. Okay, we've got our 20, so we are going to have a bit of a windfall here. Okay. I think I'm going to dedicate one person to moving minerals no matter what, just because they are going to be sort of the lifeblood of the enterprise. So I did say I was going to do sort of the minimal viable version of this setup first. So there will be an isotope module that goes in here. Some of the alternatives I could have explored would be to offset, like the mineral I could have pushed up here, could have moved the output module off to the side. I don't really think those are going to make a world of difference, but I may see later on some efficiencies. And then there's the waste module's not necessarily in the most convenient place, but at this point we really just want to get anything down rather than worrying too much about some of the specifics. Okay, so this will give me some of the coverage I need, but not all of it. So this is the furthest I can extend it out. Well, the drawback with that is it doesn't give me what I need. So I probably want to put it here, or alternatively stick one sort of on the inside here, so that somebody can access the isotope module. So let's start with that. Now I was kind of hoping to put the bridge, so I don't want to put the bridge here just because it'd be nice to have a bin for the, well, I guess I can put the bins on the inputs and such. Already, actually, this is kind of narrow for what I need, so I've probably already messed up this design, but that's fine. We'll worry about it later. Put the bridge down here so that we can get this thing rolling, and then the first thing we're actually going to do is basically dismantle all these other parts once we get some level 2 minerals. We're already full up on waste. That's why we build factories. Okay. To me, it is fairly important that we get this thing up and running quite quickly. Alright, so we don't have enough power for the whole factory. That's already already discouraging. Alright, so we will build a second one of these. There's going to be a lot of dismantling that we wind up doing, but That's fine. Like I said, this was definitely an effort to try and like. So I'm kind of set in my ways, but some of the things, one of the things that I definitely reflect on is the fact that I don't really seem to be moving as quickly as I should at the start of the game. So one of the things I want to try and do is play around a little bit with my approaches and see if there is a better way for me to be, to be trying to tackle some of the challenges the game throws my way. So some of these are going to fail, and I'll remind myself, okay, that's why I do, that's why I do things this way or that way. And then other times I might say, okay, actually this is a better way of approaching this problem, so I'll remember that for the future. So my hope is that they start using this thing quickly. The first thing I'm going to build with a tier 2 mineral is actually a waste module so that we can clean up the waste. If you don't deal with that right away, one of the problems that comes up is you just can't build stuff. So even here, it's going to take a while for someone to work on this. Let's start. I think there's too much of a bottleneck here. Drat. So again, the whole point behind this is just to try and make sure that I'm making the most of my resources as they come in. I think we'll just wait till we get the tier 3 for the before we start moving on the level 2 processor. But it does raise the question as to how I'm going to pull this thing off, because I've not done myself any favors with this factory layout. So my best bet is to probably try and stick it here. But again, like, it's a big long one, so it's 4 blocks, of which I'm going to want 2 to stick something on the end. So let's say we've got 2 here, then 1, 2, 3, 4. We're already brushing up against the edge of what is acceptable for this employee module. So now the good news is that I'm probably not going to stick 2 employee modules on the tier 2 processor like I normally do, but still there will be a little trouble. Let's get a waste module down. Oh, maybe we can afford. Yeah, it's for isotopes, so that's fine. It looks like they're doing the government worker thing again. Okay. How you doing, Night Valian? So I'm gonna need to do a little tap dancing to get this fixed, but... So I'll confess, this is a little bit of a mess of a start, but everything doesn't have to be perfect at the start. But I think some of the charm of these games is building something the first time and then seeing how you can refine it. Okay, so we got 2 down here. I'm going to wind up replacing some of my my storage containers. But after that... So again, I'm playing with fire doing this because there's the the minerals that are going to wind up kind of going to all these different locations. I'll put down a couple more waste receptacles just to remove any or remove a couple of slots. It's going to take us a while to build a smokestack, but by the way, for those of you who do not know Night Valian, nope. You can tell I like tab completes. Oh, come on. Night Valian has been playing a game I rather enjoyed through EA Play. I think it's EA Play Pro is the name of the service. Anyways, he has been playing Warhammer 40k Mechanicus, which is, I don't know, like, I think for a while there was the feeling that Games Workshop was a bit tight-fisted with the with its licenses, and I don't think that's been true for a while, but what has happened is you're noticing that some of the stuff from, like, maybe they're lesser known, or some of their their spin-off games have been getting a game, like a video game treatment. So one thing I'm thinking of, I think it's Rogue Factors, based in Montreal. They've made a sort of a digital version of Mordheim, which was based in sort of the Warhammer Fantasy Battle setting. There's a Necromunda game by the same developer, and in the case of Mechanicus, I think that's by a French studio. But again, it's what's happened is basically because, there's sometimes the complaint that the quality of the games isn't quite what it used to be. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure what the quality of Games Workshop video game adaptations were before seeing some of this stuff. I don't know if there's some golden age that I'm unaware of for this sort of stuff. But what I'm trying to communicate here, I've messed up somehow. So my answer will be to build yet another storage. So there's a saying from Don Knuth. What is it? It's the root of all early optimization is the root of all evil, or something like that. I'm guilty of that here. So when I can, I'm going to dismantle this one. Actually, I kind of want to dismantle all of them, but these two are getting in the way of progress. Or maybe not, actually, because I think I said I was going to put it along the side. Okay, I did put an isotope in there somewhere. Nope, we already have delays. Nuts. I know people get mad when I do this, but I'm doing okay, Night Valley, and I'm feeling a little groggy, and I'm kind of scatterbrained. I was having some trouble getting the stream going, and then I was kind of ill today. But I am definitely happy to be playing more Industries of Titan, and I'm going to be doing my best with the new update. Anyways, yeah, sorry, I was babbling on about the Warhammer 40k stuff. But yeah, one of the things that I've kind of liked is that in addition to there being sort of an adaptation of Mordheim and Necromunda, it's also meant that the settings are open for some more interesting kinds of games. So I'm thinking of games like... so there's a game called Necromunda Hired Gun. Now, I'll confess, like, the trailer didn't really... Like, it didn't 100% seem to be... like exactly the sort of thing I was necessarily going to be into, but that doesn't mean that it isn't interesting to see, right? It's a first-person shooter set in this particular setting, and so this means that in the case of Mechanicus, again, I don't know if it's a faction that's playable inside of the Warhammer 40k tabletop game on its own. But it is a chance for people to kind of explore something that's not just Space Marines. And I don't know, I kind of find that sort of thing interesting. I don't know what it costs to get a license for a 40k game, though. I'm assuming it's worth it, because they keep getting made, but... So I need to find another place to put my tier 2 minerals. I mean, again, we can pile them all up. Actually, yeah. I can keep piling them up here. It's not the end of the world if I do. But I am going to keep this open for the... Now, the last thing we really need right now is more, are more resources, but that's a short-term way of thinking, so I am going to claim another isotope patch. Actually, we've got enough for both a mineral and isotope patch, so... Now, part of the hope would have been, excuse me, that I was going to, have the tier 3 minerals ready to go so that I could start building the, sort of the big sources of power. That may not materialize. One of the best Warhammer games is the fantasy one, Vermintide. So my biggest problem with Vermintide is that, I feel like games like that discriminate against the lonely. I do find it quite, like, I like them, but I do find them sometimes difficult to find people to play with. I'm assuming this is just because I'm intolerable to play these kinds of games with. But yes, Vermintide is very good. Oh wow, I really did not do myself any favors with this layout. But there is some promise here. So I can't quite realize my ideal. But I can definitely get at least a significant part of it done. Or can I? Not in this form. Nuts. Okay, we're gonna pause and think about this a little bit. Oh, we can't because I need to pick up the tier 2s. Okay, let's... I've probably made things too difficult for myself here, but let's see if there's something we can do. So what I want to try and have is a mineral input, isotope input, worker slot, and okay, actually, so maybe one of the first things I want to do is try sticking... That's the best I can hope for, but even then that winds up... So if I do something like this, I still think there's the... Actually, this is crazy enough it might work. Oh, no, it's just shy of what it needs. So this seems like it would work right up to the point that you need that one extra slot. There's no output. Okay, so let me think. You're running solo kata matches, but had all epic gear, and in the end, super fun game. You love playing it with randoms. Felt the second game wasn't as good as the first, though. Oh, that's interesting. I thought the second was really well regarded. But yeah, I don't know. I definitely feel the one thing about that game is that the spike between, is it like the normal like, there's a point where the game goes from being sort of something you don't need to think about very much to being a challenge. And I definitely like it at the challenge, but I don't know if I'm just difficult to get along with or if the people I play the game with don't necessarily like that kind of experience. But one way or the other, I definitely tend to find that it's something we'll like try once or twice, but like it's not one that's had sort of this enduring run as like a long-standing game that we play. So yeah, I haven't like I'd like to play more Vermintide than I actually do, but unfortunately I tend to find that I want to play normal to nightmare. Was it really? Yeah. Anyways, I like it for sure, but I know I have my limits in terms of how much I actually get to play it. So I think I'm willing to say that I've probably messed up any hope of getting 2 of these things. I do think this will be a fun challenge for me to try and take offline, to see whether or not it's feasible to build a build a factory that will let me have both the isotope and mineral refining. But for now, let's focus on what I can accomplish. So definitely want a mineral node. In this case, we're not even going to focus on getting the higher level isotopes right now. We're just going to get those tier 3 minerals so that we can build all the infrastructure that we need. Yeah, I'd love to, Olaf. I will definitely wind up being the anchor for the team, but as long as you can tolerate that. Oh, even this probably has its problems. Actually, maybe we'll have enough power for... I don't know, we'll see. Again, there's probably more ambitions to this than sense. Yeah, it doesn't... Oh, wait. So these are more of a temporary thing. I'm probably gonna have to put down another fabricator. So effectively, like the place is gonna come to a grinding halt when I rip out all this infrastructure in favor of something a little more permanent. So I've kind of already failed in my first goal, which was to build something faster, but I am also getting a few lessons in terms of what my early approaches are going to be in future games. So I still, I still see a little value, but yeah, I'm not exactly impressing at the moment. Okay, we've at least got our power under control. So I'm gonna try and put down a couple of better storage containers for this place. We need one for tier 3s, one for tier 2 to put in, and then one for tier 3s to come out. And then where I can, I'd like to try and clear out a few of these. I think at this point I'm going to turn off the isotope side of the equation. That's kind of becoming a bit of a block for the rest of the operation. Oh, but I will need to find a place for the tier 2 isotopes. Okay, so first priority will be to replace this with something built out of tier 3 minerals. We have those resources, we just don't have people, there's not enough people sort of moving stuff where I need it. So I'm going to turn this off just so that I can have it cleared. So I believe I need to wait for the output reconstruction, then I can dismantle. So I never like, I mean, I tend to get, I tend to suffer quite a bit when I commit too much to, excuse me, taking down parts of the pipeline. I just generally don't, I don't have quite the full game plan in mind, and so I wind up getting caught by not having enough storage space, for instance. That's almost certainly going to happen here. Oh, nope. We'll have enough of the tier 2 because of this. But now we can afford to turn this back on. So, my next question is going to be, how can I get a nice big large generator down? So, basically, one of these large generators is worth 3 of these small. So, 1, 2, 3. This should be enough for me to clear those out, and then also the large fuel fabricator. So actually, let's get started. Yeah, we'll do that in parallel, actually. Actually, you know what? Just demolish it all. We're shutting down production, but we also have, like, we've got the space for it. Can also get rid of... Not going to get rid of storage containers, actually, because if I do that, then I run the risk of not having enough place to put the spares. So, hey, that worked. I wasn't 100% sure it was going to. Okay, so traditionally I put a large storage container down here. Why does this feel off? These take 8. Batteries, I think, take 5 or less. Yes, so we'll stick a battery down here. And then a battery here. So the thing that'll save us is the storage container, but we've got another big roadblock. And apparently we are drowning in waste still, so back to the factory. In this case, I'm just going to fill all the spots that... So this will be a pain to clean up, but for now, I'm just going to fill all the spots that I don't have sort of an immediate use for with race. Well... Okay. Put these 2 in the middle because I can get away with it. Maybe 1 here. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this. And again, this is very, very temporary. If nothing else, I don't have a good isotope refining operation. So... In fact, maybe let's just put down an experimental factory so I can think about what the alternative is going to look like. Stick it somewhere where I will actually have power, maybe. Still waiting on that power, huh? So now we can afford to get rid of the storage container. I don't necessarily want it to be waste receptacles here, but I guess it's a start. I also need to think about getting down the work from home setup. So this is kind of me conceding that I'm falling back into my old ways, but you know, it works right now, so I'll live with it. I do want to stick down some more batteries where I can, but right now I'm just going to wait to get those delicious tier 3 bits so that I can get some fuel and some batteries down. Actually, that's not entirely true. So I'm not necessarily going to power this quite yet, but I can at least get the infrastructure down. Well. Yeah, well. Apparently I need to be a little more decisive. So the big problem with this right now is that we just simply do not have enough power for it, and I've cut off a lot of my options in terms of getting more power. One thing I might be able to do is, I don't think I can get a medium generator down, but I might be able to stick a couple of small ones in. So I've got space for 2 smalls, but I don't think... Might be able to line them up the right way. Could also get rid of this battery, but I don't think that's a good idea. Turn this factory off for a bit because it's going to put too many demands on the power grid, but that is something I want to work on. Let's get some red artifacts. So, one of the things I'm really trying to work on here is to get myself a fuel fabricator. Now, the ideal one would be a fuel turbine. The ideal one would be lined up like this, which implies not just 1 but 2 improvements to the headquarters. And of course, I'm not set up for any because I need to refine those isotopes. Excuse me. Okay. Why did I want... Oh, right. For the fuel. So this is the bad way to do it. Oh, this works though. And you know what? We can do that with tier 1s because it's going to be temporary anyway. Yeah, we'll put a battery down because that'll just make me reliant on power that I don't actually have. So I don't normally like building out of tier 2s, but clearly we're doing our refining for the tier 3s. So we've kind of like... We've built the, again, not necessarily in the way that I would normally want to or like to. We've sort of got that first step down where we are building towards one of our bigger objectives, which is to get kind of the fuel turbine down. The fuel turbine gets us access to a lot of fuel, and then that will potentially get us access to energy. Now, I tend to underutilize my headquarters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an energy floor on my headquarters before I build the energy plant. And one of the big reasons for doing this right now is that it doesn't take a worker. So where building, like a fuel turbine will take a worker, but a fuel turbine gives a lot of fuel which is, like, that's definitely something that has been a bottleneck for me in the past. Being able to build a bunch of these generators doesn't really cost me a whole lot. So we know that the ideal fuel turbine is going to be built up along these ruins here. That's going to mean that I want to upgrade the headquarters, and of course upgrading the headquarters, one of the side effects of that is going to be giving me an extra floor where I'm able to, you know, to mess around and get some extra things built. Let's make sure the fuel turbine will require 200 construction units worth of minerals. I might want to build into that first. And then what we'll do is we'll turn off the isotope input module, we'll turn on we'll dismantle the mineral input module and turn that into an isotope one. Again, the original design would have been something that had both an isotope and a mineral, but clearly I messed up in the design. That's going to be what I sort of experiment with this factory, but I don't want to spend too much time thinking it all out. Obviously building it is better, because these are all temporary buildings anyway. We'll dismantle them and create something a little more ideal when the time comes. This is a disaster, by the way. It'd be nice if people could just, like, individually go from the output to the storage container. I wonder if I can get away. Probably not now, but I definitely should have, like, the fact that they have to, like, go a long walk and do this rather than just grab it from here, this makes me sad. Even if I just had it at the edge here, because that way, you know, yes, they have to do a long walk, but they were going to make it anyway, so when somebody wants to pull it out, you know, they can take it from the edge. But anyways, we got our 200 minerals, so we are ready to... I'm going to keep the tier 2s going, but I am going to dismantle this mineral input. I changed my mind. That's a mess, but so net we're still down one waste receptacle, but we'll probably be fine without it. So again, the plan that we're working on, expanding out to be able to make the most of this crevice. In the worst case scenario, I suppose, well, yeah, the more I think about it, the more I can just get this fuel turbine built. Well, but the point of this is to get the headquarters upgraded so I can have my energy floor. So I am still going to upgrade the headquarters. That is going to require 27 isotopes. So there's 9 of them. I need 3 tier 3s, which isn't that hard to get. I may still wind up putting the turbine down here because I don't think I'm going to get the expanded territory that I need. I don't know. I'll think about that later. Also, do I need tier 1 minerals right now? I've got 58 of them. Probably better that we collect as many as we can. I don't think we have any freebie minerals. No, we've got one more, so we'll grab these. But I should probably take another... Oh, no, we've got 2. Yeah, okay. We can go without grabbing a mineral pile. It looks like there's a few running around. May want to consider that anomaly, though. It's 60 influence, but... One way I probably should think about the anomaly... So, You'll probably know that I'm quite tight-fisted as far as artifacts go in this game. And this is a specific... I do get to say... I don't want to talk too much about chats that I had, because like I'm never sure if I'm assuming I've never been told stuff that isn't just generally known about the game. But there apparently... Like, apparently it is intentional that the ability... Oops. Well, there we go. I gave some of those minerals. Like, I've always taken it that the artifacts are very precious to the council. So again, it's like one of these things where, like, if you want to be, I don't know, sufficiently worldly and interesting, you can say, you know, something like Jeff Bezos is too rich and important to ever want to run for president. Like, I think the idea here is that in this particular game, the council has a level of power and access to resources that is, I guess for lack of a better term, beyond our comprehensions, right? So like I will occasionally indulge in the fantasy of what it's like to be wealthy. And there's I'm sure a lot of really cool stuff that I can do. I'm, certainly not hurting as far as, my just access to things is concerned. One thing I can do to make my life a little bit easier is to turn this thing on. But, most of the stuff that I tend to think about would just be either things that I would do, maybe a few things that I would own, and so on and so forth. But obviously, if you are at the level of not just, running something like this, you're someone who is a member of a council which has incredible influence over this this moon and the resources that can only be found on this moon, your motivations and your goals will probably be very different from what maybe me, the player, will be. So what I mean by that will be there's like this line in the movie Chinatown where the investigator played by Jack Nicholson, asks like, well, how much more do you need? Like, how much better can you eat? What does some more money buy you? And his answer is the future, Mr. Getz, the future. So the idea here, right, is that the council is perfectly willing to part with minerals. It's willing to part with it's willing to part with sort of raw materials, right? Because presumably Einar Peer does not find it hard to come up with cash. And presumably, anybody on the council is not going to have some difficulty in arranging some kind of a contract with a supplier in terms of getting building materials. But getting the red artifacts from the ruins of Titan, well, like, what's your alternative? So of course, if you've got somebody like me, the player, who wants to strike it rich, who wants to do well, I might be willing to give up these red artifacts in order to be able to achieve my own particular goals. Even if ultimately it winds up, potentially giving up something that might be worth even more to me, just simply because I don't necessarily know any better. So that's maybe one potential way of looking at this. So with that in mind, like, I try and be a bit tight-fisted with my red artifacts because I know they are not something I can get back from the council. There's lots of them in the area. But one way that it might be better for me to look at with these anomalies, right, is that there's 20 artifacts sitting down here. Now I can just simply sit and wait for the influence to come ticking by. Or I can give up 6 of these artifacts in order... Now, again, I only have so many trade tickets, so there's a limit. But in this case, I can get access to the artifact anomaly even faster. And I think in this case here, probably, giving up 6 artifacts in order to be able to access 20... I'm still up 14 red artifacts. That's a pretty good trade. Now, Now, obviously, I need to give up the worker for that, so there's like another minor cost along those lines too. But I don't know. Like, I'm not quite ready to do it yet, but it's definitely something I would consider. Okay, let me get back to the task at hand. So we don't have enough power for most of this, actually. So this is going to cause me a little bit of a headache just because there's multiple. In for a penny, in for a pound. So we've really kind of tapped out our resources so far as energy is concerned. Like at this point, I need to figure out how to deal with the battery drain. We do, however, have the ability to, well, sorry. I've got space for 4. Actually, I don't have as much as I thought I did. Now they're really dragging their feet on these. I'm going to turn off the mineral. Well, actually no, in this case we could use some minerals. More importantly, we quite literally have the one output module I need. So yeah. I'll run with what I've got here. Now, when it comes to building the fuel turbine, we only need 2 isotope CUs, so I suppose I also need my tier 2 isotope. That shouldn't be that hard to get, though. We're doing okay for tier 1 isotopes, I think. I might save up for the influence, I'm not sure. So, one thing I will do I'm going to stick this in the middle. We'll just pause it because I don't actually want this thing to be built. So one version of this that I can build would be, let's put the inputs on the same side like this. So the output can really go anywhere. So I guess there's one version that I could do which would be like this. And then you'd stick an employee module on it. So this particular one, you would need basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you need a 5x8 section to make this work. I mean, you got kind of space for waste modules or whatever. This definitely looks a lot like my other design, which is what makes me a bit suspicious of it. So what would the alternative be? Well, I could take these things from the edge. I suppose I could build this. I mean, it would just look... Okay, so I guess it's a 5x8 that I built here. If I stuck these on the ends, then that would turn that into the, what, 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess it would be a 6 by... Oh, I guess it'd be a 6x6. Okay, so I've got a 5x8 and a 6x6. Actually, tell you what, I'm going to take a quick second here to get a glass of water, and I'm also going to grab something to write some notes with. So I won't put up like the label or anything like that because it shouldn't take that long, but I am just going to be back in one quick minute. All right, my apologies. So I'm just taking a second here to put down a few notes. Not all of my designs necessarily... Not all of my notes necessarily survive very long, but this is one of these things that I think is kind of helpful. So if I just think of it again, so what's the goal here? Well, it's a tier 2 to tier 3. I also want it to be a one-stop shop, which means I have a minimum of 4 modules. This is basically assuming I just take the waste and put it on the ground. But generally with these things, there's always a couple of extra... There's always like a couple of extra slots where you can be able to put a spare waste module, so I'm not that worried about it. So... I think we said this one was what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 by 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I've got an 8 by 5 version. And then if I bring these along the side here, we still have enough space for the waste module because then those just go on the end. And that will condense it down. I think I said a 6 by 6 if I'm not mistaken. 1, 2, 3, 6. Yeah. So, I mean, if you think of it, the 6x6 version is on paper more efficient because that'll only take up 36 tiles as opposed to the 40. Again, allowing for the fact that you can always like cram a couple little things like storage inside. But then there's the other question of does it line up well with your other plans? In this particular case, the other plans being a like your tier 1 to tier 2 system. So let's experiment. We're out of power, so I've already messed up. Well, we've got everything built, so in this case, let's just shut this thing down and that'll solve the power problem. And we do have enough to upgrade HQ, so while they're working on that... Okay, so I'm going to try the 6x6 version just for illustration. So we need to have 2 in the end there. I think I might even be able to get away with this. So I put the mineral here, isotope here. It doesn't really matter where I put the employee and output, I don't think. These are the final, this is kind of the final destination, so. Okay. And then, you know, stick like a waste module here or something like that. So the next question is, what can I do with a tier 1 system? So right now my tier 1 system takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 6 by 7. That's not good. That is actually larger than my... That is larger than my tier 2 to tier 3. The other thing that's interesting about this is that in a small factory, you have... it's like realistically what I have to work with is 1, 2, 3, 4, or... Yeah, so one of them is going to be constrained by 4, unless I can get a little fancy in sort of this middle zone. Yeah, that is an interesting puzzle. I wonder if it is even possible to pull off. So if I tried something like this, and I'd put my output module here, so that means that they can stick it into the mineral or the isotope. Sorry, there's one other thing I just need to get. I'll be back in just a second. Sorry about that. I'm a little doubtful this is going to work, but okay, so we've got an output module here. This means that we'll be able to get our minerals and isotopes in. So what we now need, we need space for 4 more... well, that's the challenge, right? We need space for 4 more objects. So I can sort of fit the mineral in here, and I can fit the isotope in here, but then where do I get my worker? And I think... Whoa! I think that's what's going to sink any design. So if I just reduce it down to the question of where would I put the tier 1, I guess the question comes down to where can I fit 4 tier 2 where can I fit 4 tier 2 sorry, 4 not tier 2 but 4 sort of modules beside the tier 1 to tier 2 processor, and at least with the 6x6 setup I don't see how that's possible. It then invites the question is like, well, does the 8x5 get us something that we wouldn't be able to access? Because again, you have that interesting problem where it's like, okay, well, technically we're giving up fewer tiles in order to be able to accomplish this, but it's blocking us from being able to do anything else. And I think we still wind up with the same problem I'll give it a shot. I actually don't even remember how I did the other one, but I'm sure I can derive it again. So probably did something like this. So the advantage of this setup is that it should give me a little bit more. It should give me a little bit more free space. What on earth is going on here? You know what? Let's just cancel that outright. So the virtue of this should be that it gives me a little more free space for the tier or the level 1 version, but I think in practice it still leaves me short. Incidentally, we need 108. So kind of as feared, we don't quite have enough to move ahead. I'm gonna hold off on this experimentation for a little while. I'm running short on fuel. I'm gonna get my fuel floor set up. This is level 10, so... Oh, actually... We're gonna demolish you. And we're gonna set up my mineral processor when I can. So this doesn't really seem viable, but this does. And then I can use the rest of this for any kind of storage or whatever. Why did I spend tier 3s on these? But we do need to get that. We do need to get this fuel turbine up and running. I think it's pretty clear we're not going to hit the 108 milestone for the isotopes. Okay, so. I think we wind up in the same place we were last time. I might be like, so if I flip this thing around and I actually, well, hang on. Now that I think of it. Again, just as a placeholder. Okay. So, I ideally would still like a waste module in this area, but let's see if we can fit everything in first. I have to switch to tier 2s in a little bit. Ooh, this looks ugly. Yeah, so I think we still wind up in the same problem, right? Where we take our tier 2s, So I can say, okay, well, you know, minerals in here. And then the question is, where does the output go? I suppose... So, I mean, this is already the problem, a problem, but not the problem, but a problem. But yeah, so the reason why the level 1 is so difficult to do this sort of work with... Okay, I really need to knock this out. It's actually really nice that the level 1 processor has this nice long surface. So it makes it easy for you to, you know, kind of stick all the little fiddly bits that you want. And so it... what it like the problem that essentially I'm running into here is it is possible to stick 4 objects onto the level 1 processor. What is considerably more difficult, though, is you are limited by quite a bit in terms of what you can do. So you can, like, the really simple one is, you know, something like this. But notice that wherever you kind of go on this surface, you're still taking up sort of the same space. Actually, hang on. I think this is still nonsense, but I did just get an idea. Let's say... God, doesn't even matter. One here. Isotopes in here. Has to be employees here, has to be outputs on this side. So in theory, if I wanted to do, let's say for the sake of argument, well no, let's push in a bit deeper. I think this sinks me, but let's verify. I still think I wind up sunk, but there's something oddly suggestive about this. Yeah, I still wind up sunk. Because what do I do about this? Although, yeah, well, it comes. We're back to the exact. Hey, JJ's Games. Yeah, I really what I should be doing this. I should be doing this on my own time, because I've already done this for the infamous factory that went out in the tweet. Yeah, it just comes back to that same problem again and again, which is that it's okay. Actually, no. So. Here's the problem. I could have actually saved my set. I don't think this is possible within this area. The big problem that I run into in here is that I keep calling this like 6x6 or like 5 by 8, but the catch is that that's not necessarily true because you also need to have that one slot open on the side. Okay, yeah, I'm not doing that though, because one day they'll patch that out. The fact that I included the waste modules in the middle in that other design doesn't mean that that's actually a design feature. That's more just I'd rather not have a big hole in the middle of my factory. But yeah, so I probably could have saved myself a lot of time by not thinking of them as 8x5 or 6x6 factories, but rather thinking of them as, why am I still oh right, I know why I'm short the fuel. Just turn these off completely. What was I going to say? Yeah, I could have saved myself the time by including the area around the edges. The other thing is that every once in a while, so the factory design that I usually use, I think there were a couple of points where I said it couldn't be done, and then I had a breakthrough, so I don't know, I'll sit around and mess around with it a little bit, but what I kind of learned about that what I learned in that side trip was that basically if I want to be going from tier 1 to tier 3 in one go, that has to be in a combined factory. That's not necessarily a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with combining factories. Alternatively, I can have one factory dedicated to going from level 1 to level 2, and then a second factory dedicated from going to 2 to 3. I cannot believe I just let this influence go to waste. That's what I get for messing around with factory layouts. But of course, the trick with that is that if I'm going to be combining factories, I already have a design that I like for my factories. So, why would it go away from it? So that brings us back to fuel turbines. So let's just get this one down. Again, my preference would have been, why are you not letting me build this? Oh, because I don't have the influence. My preference would have been to build it here, but we're at the point now where I actually need the energy, and we did let a whole bunch of rebel threat build up while I was messing around with other things. So, and given the fact that the rebel threat is not going to be going down with our artifacts coming in, it's probably a good idea that we prep for their arrival. So I can always demolish this and rebuild it another time. And then one great and glorious day, I'll actually be able to turn on my work from home setup, and we can continue on past the initial stages of the level. I was talking about my tendency to get stuck in my ways, but I don't know. I keep running into things that kind of reinforce my priors, so. Actually, if I'm going to be expanding the factory out by one, I'm actually going to need a command center if I want to run the fuel turbine along the edge here. So maybe that'll just be standing on its own. It won't hurt because, I mean, it is a bit of a shame if I would have to have dedicated infrastructure to just defend this. Mind you, I run into the same problem with this crevice as well. Good news to know that we've got an isotope mine on the edge here, so I probably want to start expanding out along this end, especially because we don't have that many isotope fields. It'd be nice to get an idea about where the minerals are. It also suggests to me that maybe a smokestack somewhere on, this side of the map might be an idea. And given the fact that we are okay on our fuel turbine for now, I think I am going to kill the... I'm going to kill the mineral input module, and then we'll go back to isotopes. Again, I really, really do not like this particular setup, but we'll change it sooner or later. Actually, I guess I can get to work on that now. Well, that's generous. Okay, 13 fuel. Open question as to whether or not the Zethane is helpful. I mean, it wouldn't hurt, because I don't plan on having housing here anyway. Sensors. Clearly, I'm not going to use these artifacts for these right now, but it does mean I'm going to have to run a road sort of through the edge here, because I don't necessarily want to destroy these. So let's get a body in there. I do also need to build a conversion center at some point. I've definitely got some other challenges. Getting this factory back into something that makes a little more sense is going to be a challenge. Take 10, please. I really don't like being told how to play the game. I'm already having a difficult session. And I don't know how many times I need to tell people I don't want to be told how to play the game. I think if a simulation game in particular is something that should be promoting experimentation and enjoyment and people finding their own way of doing things. And I cannot find anything more irritating than denying people the opportunity to enjoy a game on those terms and insist that there is a good or better way of doing things. At the very least, people should opt into that. So I'm sorry if you feel that that's harsh, but at this point, I think enough is enough. Okay, why don't you want to connect? Oh, because there's a task in Oh, is this... So does this mean as long as it's generating stuff, I'm not going to be able to combine them? That's an interesting problem. Okay, maybe not. Let's turn this thing on. So what I might wind up doing with this factory is just demolishing it and putting it back to the old design. The one thing that's nice about it kind of seems like a drawback in some ways too, especially because I don't have that many employees. Ultimately, it does require more employees, but I don't know, for me at least, I tend to find turning on and turning off the like the various components to be better than what I'm doing right now, which is dismantling and rebuilding these different different items. So yeah, I'll just fall back into my old habits. I also think I forgot to wire up all the. Yep, I absolutely did. So. Well, it could be worse. I've got lots of material to work with at the start. Oh, that sucked. Also, that's the tier 2 version. So I'm probably gonna have to start destroying some stuff to make this work, but we can get the basics down. And learn an important lesson as to the importance of tier 1 to or tier 2 minerals. Okay, well clearly I can afford to lose the tier. Clearly I can afford to lose the tier 1 version of this stuff, so let's get rid of you. I gotta do this one at a time, but of course the tier 2 is the one that's the block, so that makes it a little more complicated. I guess we can take the... Oh, actually, sorry, I gotta cancel that. Because it looks like there's a mineral on its way as well. Okay, so clearly the next thing is the conversion center, but I can't do that because I don't have credits. So we're one off from what we need for migration, but that's going to help us with our cash situation. So I suppose, as always, the question is, well, okay, so there's a good argument for, well, really both of these. I'm reluctant to activate these simply because I may not be able to defend them. These are in an area that I do need to defend, so I'm going to activate this for the sensor, because it would be good to have an idea about where the minerals are, and then this one eventually I would like to activate for the energy, because having big batteries is nice. I'm trying to think if I have any benefit to let's just keep grabbing the artifacts. Although this is a stupid one for me to grab. I'm almost certain there was a... Yeah, this would have been good for 2, and I think there's a 3 kicking around here somewhere. Maybe I already took it. Yep. That is not going to be the reason why why I lose. Okay, so here's an example about how the new UI works. On its own, doesn't really look like that much of a change. In practice, what will happen is the projected end-of-day balance is going to adjust as well. Actually, I guess the projected daily income as well as the projected end-of-day balance. So these things will, these things are going to change basically in real time as the game progresses. So, for instance, if fuel shortage knocks down my power, that power knocks down a couple of the monetization stations or a habitat pod. Habitat pod arguably is the worst of the two to have that problem with. For the simple reason that a habitat pod will knock out 2 people, whereas a monetization station only has 1. But whatever happens, basically you will see the projected daily income adjust based on your actual ability to make money in the current period, as opposed to sort of some idealized version of that. Still hurting on tier 2 minerals, huh? We can at least afford to get rid of a few of these extra bits. I also need to remember to supply power to all of this, so I'm actually going to be very short on what I need. This is the mineral one, right? Yeah, we got to get that up and running as soon as possible. I also don't remember if I put the bridge on this side or on this side. I think I put the bridge on this side because I can put the storage container beside the input. So this unfortunately is a tier 3, which I don't need at the moment. This will generate a bunch of waste, but I don't really see much of an option. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna spike it all. Wow, I did not realize that these were still tier 1s. Okay, that's actually sort of... That's created a number of problems for me. As all of this waste. Okay, you know what? We're just gonna totally uproot the old system. There's definitely some big changes I need to make after all. So priority number 1 for this is going to be... So I realize I'm putting a whole bunch of garbage on the ground. This is going to make it hard to build things. The reason I'm doing this is because I want to build a bunch of waste receptacles in spots that they're not going to get in the way of the... Did I mess this up? I don't think so. Please tell me this thing isn't full. It's really close to full. Also, I haven't needed these in forever. Okay, I really did not do myself any favors there. I got a little too eager to get rid of a few inconvenient things. So these are tier 1s. That's fine. We're gonna stick this in the corner, as close to the corner as we can get. So why? Oh right, sorry. The blue is the territory around the edge. Once they have the garbage carpet, it's hard to tell sometimes. So this is going to be also for waste. This is just something that I can get a bunch of people to dump some stuff in. Now again, this is not ideal. I would actually rather not have to do it this way. But I went a little crazy, so I now need to pay the price for that. In fact, fact, I'm going to build 2 of these. And again, I'm kind of kicking the can down the road. I am ultimately going to have to pay for this again when I demolish them. But at the very least, I'll have kind of some waste receptacles and all of that off to the side. Right now, I just want to get a place to put my tier 2s and tier 3s that I already have, and put them in, put them in a spot where I'm able to build this all out. Although I do find it a little... Okay, I guess there's a couple tier 3s here. It doesn't give me a full accounting, but I do find it a little suspicious because I feel like there's not enough items on here to account for the number of construction units I had. The thing is, though, that when one of these tier 3s is worth 25, and when there's multiple... so when there's more than one of them on a given tile, the looks are going to be a bit deceiving there. So yeah, this is just a mess. There's no excuse for it. It's just, that's the state of the world right now, and I'm going to have to learn to live with it. Let's get some... I'm going to be generating... Oh, I thought I was going to be generating an energy surplus. Apparently I'm not. I'm wondering, do I want to try and put another storage... The ideal for me would be to actually have storage, not to have storage in any of these buildings, just have them serve very functional purposes. Just have a generator and a fuel fabricator running, storage for all these things, and then just not have them touch anything else. In practice, that doesn't happen, so... Only 4 more. It is obviously a little irritating to see me have to wait to get resources that I already have, but again, it's a situation of my own creation. Hey, Index Gnome. Yeah, no problem. I will confess I've not been at the top of my game tonight. I've been trying a couple of new things, and unfortunately that seems to translate into a bit of backseating, which clearly I have not learned to deal with well. But I don't know. It's been a tricky day. I have not been feeling 100%, and I was very, very groggy getting started. So I tried a different approach to my factor creation, and it didn't work. Is the simple version. So, but thank you for stopping by. I always appreciate it. Okay, so this one is allowed to take waste for now. That may not be a permanent state of affairs. But importantly, we've got a couple of tier 2s back in the stack. So we will build our bridge and then build our relay. I'm waiting for one of those precious tier 3s to show up. I did used to have somebody dedicated towards picking up those... I used to have someone dedicated to picking up those items, but it seemed wasteful. If I have enough space, in reality, I'm probably just going to wind up having to build a ton of waste receptacles and, and live with that. But if I have the space, it would be kind of nice to build a conversion center. The other spot where that might work would be if I go up to floor 2, I can probably stick a couple conversion centers in here, but as you can see, I'm already suffering a bit as far as energy is concerned. I'm already drawing down my my surplus. I'm assuming we just turned off. Nope. I mean, it's not like these things are on right now. So what's... What's losing out on the power? Like, all this stuff seems to be running fine. And these are, other than the factory, like the bridge hasn't been built yet, so there's nothing for us to really work with there. Anyways, I'm just going to wire this all up. Once that's wired up, then I can go back to focusing on the waste receptacles and such. But what I need to make sure is that in my efforts to try and like clean up this big mess that I've created for myself, I want to make sure that I at least have the infrastructure down. That means having energy bridges, that means having relays, that means having inputs, outputs, and an employee module. I don't have to have two, especially with 8 workers, but, you know, just these basics. Oh, I see what was happening. I split my grids because of the energy bridge. That's why it was reporting what it was. Okay, so yeah, the thing I want to focus on right now is just making sure that I have the basics down, and then once those are there, so eventually people are going to be picking up all these, you know, these orphans. And, oh, that's right, my output modules wind up entombing the processor. Drat. Well, let's turn these off then. So this isn't a bad one just because it is going to mean that I have... so what this is going to get me is the... this is going to get me those tier 2 minerals. Those tier 2 minerals will ultimately translate into waste receptacles. In fact, one thing I can do now... Okay, so that's going to... Not only is that going to clean up a little bit of... in fact, we can do another set of them. I am so not ready for this rebel wave threat. Okay. So... now I need to think of... okay, so there's one way I am immediately going to handle this rebel threat, which is to have dedicated workers for moving minerals and isotopes. We've already got the tier 2s being constructed. We've got a spot for these level 1s to get picked up. This one's okay for waste. I think I'm going to keep this one on its own for now. I don't want to give my workers too much to do, but I do want to make sure that they are focusing on the right things. This is going to be embarrassing if I... Well, actually, it'll be very well timed if I die this time around. Oh, I messed up. So we gotta shut this one down temporarily. Right, I always get this wrong because the outputs for these go to these 2 areas. So let's actually lock those in. Oops. Now. I think I traditionally put a waste receptacle here. Okay, so now I'm sort of at the mercy of this stuff getting worked out. Actually, let's kill this waste receptacle. So I need to make sure that I have the resources. I need to have at least one tier 2 to be able to rebuild the energy bridge and the relay. The resources will be on the ground, but I'm not going to be able to put the blueprint down if I don't have the resources presently available to me. So I do have... Okay, so we can also get the tier 3 stuff built. I'm debating as to whether or not it's worth it to try and put down the waste receptacles. Hello, the Eyes of Sin. How are you doing tonight? For those of you who do not know, the Eyes of Sin is the designer behind these lovely emotes. which I would love to add to, but I need time and I need money. Oh, this is a great choice to enable tutorials partway through. So I will mention that she is available to hire for those of you who are experiencing more channel growth than me. No, for those of you who are in the market for emotes, either replacing ones that you have or getting some new ones. I definitely am very happy with what the Eyes of Sin did. My favorite is in fact the one that they sort of did entirely on their own. I sort of asked for my own version of a kappa, and System 1 HMM is exactly that. I don't know whether or not anybody considers it like a kappa, but I do. Again, just clearly it's easier for artists to work with very clear guidelines, and so sort of in future, whenever I have requests, I try to I try to be a little more specific. So this is what I was talking about before in terms of hitting, like, the resources are already there, so it's just a matter of building, but I wouldn't be able to put the blueprint down if I didn't have the tier 2s. But yes, this is a very long and rambly way of saying I am a big fan of the Eyes of Sin's work. Not only do they do art and are available for hire, you can do that either on their Twitter account or Coffee, and you can feel free to link those, Eyes of Sin. Industries of Titan pauses every time I tab out, so I am a little. Well, actually, there is one tab out that I'll do here, which is to shout you out. But on top of all of those things that I said, actually, I guess I can bring up Edge. Sorry, I didn't want to do too much of a break for the. Hey, thank you. And for those of you looking to hire, hire Amanda, you can also use Twitter. The reason you want to visit the Coffee page is that is where the most recent work gets put on. So there's always a chance to support if you have the means and the interest in so doing. And I know I ask a lot of you in that regard. So it is, I do my job of trying to shout out the things that I like and seeing the support to the things that I like being met. But obviously everybody's circumstances are different, and I certainly don't mean to be too pushy on it. But one way or the other, Eyes of Sin also does stream, and I have enjoyed being able to watch those broadcasts as well. And so every once in a while when they go online, if you follow them, it's a chance to see it. I do kind of like highlighting that for people who don't always go online very frequently, because of course if you have somebody who appears regularly, especially if they play the same game and it's a game that you enjoy, you're probably going to remember, oh yeah, I like that person, or oh, I didn't like that person, I'm not visiting there again. That happens too. But in this case, you're able to see them. But the likelihood that the Eyes of Sin is going to be broadcasting something that you would be interested in, at the time you're looking for something new is fairly remote. And so it's one of the reasons why I recommend those follows. Anyways, Night Valian, Eyes of Sin are two streamers who've stopped by, and Olaf does occasionally stream, but I know life's been a little hectic, so the opportunity wasn't there this time around. Okay, I think I will put down a couple of outputs, because if I do need the tier 3s, it's nice to have the option. I messed something up here. No, I didn't. I just put the output like this, if I recall correctly. Yeah. So this has closed me off in terms of tier 2s. Now, how are we for tier 3s? Okay, so I am actually going to turn on one of these tier 3s immediately. So with the rebel threat level at 92, I need to seriously consider defense. Now this is why we bought the defense turret. But I am short on mineral construction units. So what I need to do now that I've redesigned the factory... Oop, wrong factory. Actually, the other thing that's important to remember too is we're in the leisure center, so all of this stuff is draining batteries. Well, there's no happiness in the game yet, so we can just turn that off. Hooray, we're charging our batteries now. Actually, now that I see... I will confess, I'm pretty sure it's a bug, but the fact that the map gets reoriented every time you jump in and out of a screen really messes with me. Okay, so we've already got the battery. But yeah, so at some point I need to get this defense turret down. I essentially need for the remaining 7% to get 250 mineral CUs. So that basically means 10 tier 3s. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to build the factory around achieving that particular goal. So we will... Looks like we've got a work... Oh no, I'm just seeing things. So we don't have a worker in there already. That's fine. I think I'm actually going to turn off the refining for the isotopes as well. That's just a chance for me to have another worker taking care of this stuff. Let's make this one a priority. And unfortunately, I'm kind of stuck on the rest of it, so maybe we will... Ah, okay. So we'll have one dedicated waste cleaner. I don't think I could afford to have people dedicated to processing, but I can now afford to have those conversion centers in the headquarters. So if I had tier 2... Actually, do they take tier 2? I can't remember offhand. No, those are tier 3. Ah, if they're tier 3s, I do not want to be giving those up because we need to get that turret online. Okay. So, I'm also getting close to the edge of my... I'm just trying to think if there's any advantage to me. Okay, so one thing I can do to get some early, like higher level resources would be to take out the obsidian ruins. So we've got 40 for 24 mineral 2, 80 for... So, as nice as this is closer to what I need right now. Yeah, basically as many mineral 2s because that just brings us closer to turning them into tier 3s. So clearing out these obsidian ruins are a way we can sort of get a leg up on our production goals. This is the wrong factory again. Another alternative I could have considered would be instead of just dismantling and rebuilding a bunch of this factory, because clearly so much of my energy is now going to be put towards cleaning up this waste. It's why I did ultimately decide to have one dedicated cleaning worker. Clearly we need more, but you know, we'll work with what we've been given. Completely forgot to power the tier 3, so that's another liability. And I'm out of tier 2s. Okay, well, I've already got somebody taking down the obsidian ruins. So clearly we have enough space for the storage. Well, that's not. There's nothing clear about that. I don't remember what the waste storage space is for a factory. But Okay, so what I want to see right now is whether or not my workers are voluntarily picking these up. Looks like they aren't, so I'm going to have a dedicated worker. Well, okay, I didn't give them nearly enough time to be able to do that on their own, but I think... So I was debating on whether or not I wanted to kill this job or not. Adding artifacts certainly is going to raise the net worth of my corporation, which of course will mean that the rebels will get even more angry at me. So that's one great reason for me not to annoy them any more than I already am. But number two, I am short on workers, so we've got the dedicated worker on the fuel turbine. I can't get rid of that. But even when it comes to this factory, right, there's a reason why I turned off the isotope production line, and that's just purely because I want to make sure that we've got enough workers handling the things that we need. So I needed to make sure that I had tier 2 minerals. Technically, I didn't need to make sure it was just tier 2 minerals, but I like trying to get it done right the first time if I can. Despite the way I actually play this game. I forgot to wire up the output module, so we're covered there. So in a perfect world, if I had more workers, I would have sort of dedicated people towards processing. So, you know, making sure that there's the inputs and outputs handled. And especially the fact that we're covered in waste really hurts the speed at which this sort of stuff is happening. Unfortunately, I just kind of have to deal with the world as it currently is. So again, there is the important question. Well, actually, sorry, there is one thing that I can probably do to make life a little easier for me. Actually, we don't have quite as many as I thought. Anyways, I'm going to build conversion centers with tier 1 materials. I think we can afford a tier 2 here. So this is going to occupy some workers in terms of just moving the materials that they need, but it's something that will allow me to build more workers. So overall, I think that's a decent enough trade-off. And I also want to see what happens when I turn the work from home setup on. Okay, we're still short for energy, so we'll turn that off until we need that for sure. Okay, so we're back to 94%. We're not really any closer to being able to build that that turret minerals-wise. However, we do actually finally have the infrastructure in place to be able to do all of this. I am going to build a... So I'll build the receptacle for the mineral line, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to do it for the isotope line right now because we're not putting anything into it. I would, under some circumstances, build a second employee module here, but the thing is that the bottleneck isn't in the conversion from tier 2 to tier 3. The bottleneck is in picking up the like the upgraded units. So adding, like, if I'm going to have a dedicated worker towards something, it should be someone clearing out the slots, which actually in this particular case makes sense. Doesn't always make sense given that I'm really short on workers, but we did just finish building the conversion centers, so we can get those priorities taken care of. And of course, we're not, like, we are sort of scrambling at the last minute, but in this particular case, we don't need to worry about the fact that we haven't paid our employees. Okay. I've got some surplus influence, so an obsidian ruins wouldn't be the worst choice here. Yeah, that gets me more tier 2 minerals, so we do already have somebody who's focusing on moving minerals. We now have somebody focused on clearing outputs, and we will be getting more bodies in shortly, but we have moved up to 95, so... This will be going up to 175. Again, we need to get to 400, so it's definitely a tall order. But the hope here is that the conversion centers are going to carry the day. And then the other thing too, right, is that the tower needs to go up before we lose something irreplaceable. Everything else is unfortunate, but we can build back from. So I've already made the mistake of not really focusing enough on the, so basically I was too busy faffing about in the factory to say, okay, well, we tried one prototype design, I wasn't happy with it, so I'm going to go back to the old one. And instead of messing around with the different designs, I could have been saying, oh, hey, I need to make sure that we're ready to build a turret in time for the bad guys to show up. So it does look like adding those workers has angered the rebels. I'm still going to add 2 more because, again, the more bodies we have, the closer we're going to get to our production goals. But what I need to prepare for rebel attack, so the things that are in danger, Factory 6, Factory 3, so these are doubled up. And then the activated radar. This is actually one of the reasons why... Oh, sorry, also the battery. So these are something I'm a little more nervous about because they don't burrow and they can't be replaced. Halfway on the turret, which is nice. Should probably think about placement. I'm probably going to stick it here just because there's not a lot of options with the pylon. The turbine isn't as big of a deal as you would think because I should have enough money to burrow. So if they go after the turbine, I can burrow. The only challenge is that, you know, I don't want... there can be some advantage in letting them rough up the turbine a little bit while you wait for, other stuff to happen. So I don't want to be too premature on that button. So I do want to see, once these things get converted, whether or not that causes another percentage point to be added to the... Yep, it does. So I think it's fair to say we can't afford to add more workers. Looks like basically every 2 that we add, the threat level goes up. So as helpful as it is, I mean, we're up to 250. There's only so much there's only so much that we can tolerate. Okay, looks like we're clearing things out now. Looks like the bottleneck's somewhere else. You know what? I don't really want to be micromanaging that. Well, looks like somebody's already on the job, though, so... So the other big problem, of course, is going to be the energy levels, but I'm basically going to kind of dance back and forth on that. Right now, the goal is to make money because money is going to be how I sort of pay for repairs. I can worry about energy infrastructure and such at a future time. I don't know how much citizens will boost up the threat meter, but I'm trading them for artifacts, which at least under the old system, I thought would be a bit more useful for... Gonna get the numbers back up. So again, we're doing fine for cash. So yeah, so in this case here, notice that citizens with job 0, projected daily income 240. I'm assuming that 240 is the money that I've already made. So we're actually, we're at a net loss, and it's given a pretty accurate projected end of day balance. You know, I'm at 1552. It's going to cost me 480. So unless I do something to change that state of affairs, we're going to be ending the day with less money than we started. But again, this is because we're at 97%. I want to make sure I've got charged batteries for when I turn on the turret. We need 2 more tier 3, actually possibly only 1 more tier 3. I don't remember if L is... I don't think it says what L is currently carrying. But I definitely saw tier 3 get picked up. They probably put it in this storage container, but This is going to be 375 right here. We are currently processing 400, so... So as you can see, right, under some circumstances, adding a second employee module would make this thing zip right through. But because we have people taking forever to just walk through all this territory, it's not the right call. Okay, so 375's just waiting to get picked up. I believe we already have a dedicated employee to that. No, I do not. I thought I said I was going to do that. I don't think we have the same priority for moving minerals anymore, because at the time we were originally just trying to get some tier 2s to build certain items. Okay, so... and then that's 400. Just in the nick of time. Okay, so one challenge we are going to encounter is, as you can see, we just tickle the edge of the fuel turbine. And these things aren't actually all that strong on their own. So not only do we want to build the defense turret, but we want to try and upgrade it. So, of course, we also want to power it, which I might want to do with an energy plant. But I got to kind of think about what's realistic to achieve within the current period. And I think getting enough tier 3 minerals to be able to build an energy plant, which will take a dedicated worker anyway, is probably not the done thing. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to lay the groundwork to upgrade this turret as early as possible. Also notice we've lost a little bit of the threat meter. I think that's because we just put a considerable number of resources towards a building. So oddly enough, the defense turret has served 2 important purposes for us. So I'm going to turn off the tier 3 production line. We're actually going to start working on isotopes again. And this is because we've already got the isotopes that we needed to construct the original... we've already got the isotopes we needed to construct the original turret. So what we want to do now is try and get as many tier 3 isotopes as we can. We've currently got 54, so that we can upgrade this ideally to a tier 2. A tier 3 seems a little extreme, but the things that we are eventually going to want to do is just sort of boost up our headquarters, boost up the defense turret. One high priority for me would actually be to get headquarters up to level 3 so that I can build another energy floor. But again, I got to think about what's realistic in the current time frame. So I also only have 9 fuel, so I don't think I'd be able to sustain a full energy floor. Also, I seem to recall saying that I would need to build a I think I said that I would need to build a command center to be able to build the turbines where I actually wanted them, so I think it's fair to say we're actually going to be a little thin on our energy needs. I was also going to build a smokestack at some point, but clearly the rebels have become my bigger worry. I don't think I should be draining right now.
Wonderful day to put down one of the council's pawns, wouldn't you say?
I'm gonna you only YOLO once it. It's only 4 tier 3 isotopes. Like, it's not that far that they need to travel. Still one dedicated to cleanup. Okay, looks like somebody's hooked into the job. We don't see any of the rebel ships yet. We always have the option of canceling it, but getting this up to tier 2 makes all the difference when the attack comes. Okay. We can also now afford to put people back to the other jobs that I wanted them to do, and the rebels are already mad at us, so we can get some conversions done. It's 23 seconds. I think they might attack this factory, which I should... Well, no, let's deal with the rebels, then we'll pay for the repairs. No, they're going for the energy pylon. Well, that's definitely smart on their part. I'm going to try not to burrow, but we do need to start a repair right away. This is actually a really helpful bit of information. It lets you know just how much leeway you have. So we are going to need to wait for an employee to show up. Oh. It's losing a lot of power. I hate turning off the production lines, but... Pretty sure we saw somebody go in there. There we go. So they should stop attacking. Well, maybe they don't. This is going to take a while. Which makes the battery drain all the more frightening. Okay, I actually need to think pretty seriously about this. So one, let's turn off the conversions. Okay, so we still have a leak of 3. So what, it can't be that. So use 36. How much do I generate? Oh, wait a minute, no, if I'm only running on these, how much you want to bet that really is? So this thing generates 9. I've got 4 generating, okay. That's fine though, I have a good temporary solution. So there's a specific order that I gotta do this in. 29 on the pylon. So again, the money's not gonna last forever. Make these priorities, so this is gonna save us energy-wise. I only need 1 of them, but being able to get this to a positive number removes the threat. So in the emergency, I can burrow, and that might be an idea because obviously I'm slowly bleeding out sort of 5 credits every time this thing shoots. Actually, it looks like I repair faster than this thing destroys. But the one thing I don't want to do is burrow and then find out that my turret doesn't have power anymore. So I was a bit premature to get rid of my other sources of energy, given the fact that I wasn't building a. There we go. So now's the time I would consider. A burrow is 150, so that's basically 30. Well, I guess it's like 30 seconds of repairs. That might have made sense, but right now, I think it probably is just as easy for me to wait out the destruction of the rebels. So let's face it, that was rough, but we made it. We're on leisure time, so we won't be turning this factory back on for a while. We are, however, going to turn on Factory 6 as soon as possible. Alright, we survived despite my catastrophic mismanagement.
I pride more than my people. I will not let this stand.
If the rebels have pride, they have a funny way of showing it. Good job, Founder.
I have not heard that one before. I like that line a lot. Alright, I think just because I'm getting close to 80, we'll wait and clear out those obsidian ruins. I almost never take advantage of them. We are back on track. We are actually also getting to the point where we have enough workers to kind of run the lines fully. So an energy plant would not hurt, but I would really love to have a better I'd really love to have better infrastructure for the energy. So I think I'll make do with what I've got right now. This is fine. We'll let them run by with what they've already got. I'll put down a couple of extra waste receptacles. Yeah, that's fine. Just kind of, again, there's no, in this game right now, there's no penalty to, so this was, actually, this is one thing that came up in the Discord a lot, and I was feeling really bad for the team, because everybody was like, you know, taking the number of squares and then dividing it, and then it's like, oh, you know, you don't know how to balance your game, you know, there's only so many, like, you can get so many more items inside of these things. Like, well, yes, but, like, you know, this is one of these fantastic examples. Like, again, people in certain workplaces will be really familiar with this. Like, if you don't measure the right thing, you can basically argue for anything. So basically, the reason why, you know, a large storage container might make a little bit more sense than, you know, 9 individual storage containers is that at some point, the middle storage container is not necessarily going to carry anything. And again, like, I've heard, frankly, more criticisms than I would care to hear of the waste modules in the center here. The reason it's here is just purely for, you know, photogenic purposes, right? Like, it just looks like a big, cool factory if you have lots of metal bits inside of it. These don't really do anything. But the way the game is really built right now, people do sort of, like, reach in and take the waste out, whereas I suspect in the full release version of the game, like, people would not be able to interact with this waste receptacle or with these waste modules. So, where I can, I try to build assuming that the game is going to behave that way. And I mean, if the 1.0 comes out and there's no such thing as, you know, like, space is meaningless, then, you know, I'll just rebuild accordingly. But in this case here, that's kind of informing how I'm building these different waste receptacles here, which is where I can, I'm entombing them for sure, but only once people, you know, once they've served their purpose. We are, by the way, going to work on a smokestack. Just, again, it'd be nice if I can get it as far away from the work from home scenario. Not scenario, work from home building. The rest of this is just simple cleanup. I'll be able to get a few little artifacts. There's a couple of stragglers as far as, actually, we can get that right now. So a 20, a 10, I think 40, nope, 50, 50 influence worth of minerals and isotopes for me to pick up, and then the rest is just kind of slowly picking up some artifacts as time goes by. We are nowhere near a spot where we're able to defend these, so as much as I would like to have them, I'll be patient and not take these out. I'm trying to decide, I think if I'm completely honest, the ideal location for a smokestack would actually be here, or potentially even further out. Because, of course, ideally you don't want to have pollution near your living spaces. We're sort of forced to have the road on this side anyway, for the simple reason that if I don't want... I mean, again, this is one of the reasons why these inert ruins are in here, is to sort of create a little bit of variation in terms of how you build your city. and not have everything sort of be grids all the time. I mean, again, you can demolish these if you want, but you're fine if you move around and sort of let the city take on an organic shape. It's the same reason why I like playing with the rebels turned on, is that your cities don't necessarily look ideal when you have to prepare for defenses. And that's one of the reasons why, the world looks the way that it does. Whether it's a city that you live in or sometimes even the borders of countries will essentially be just a reflection of what is, what's something that's easy to defend. So with all of that in mind, we know we're going to be generating pollution by mining out these isotopes. We know we're going to have a roadway running through here. This actually is almost designed to have a highway running through, because we'll be able to, put the mine in these spots, factory or something like that on the other side. I could also just build the mine like so and the factory like so, and then the road would sort of twist around like this. I'll figure out exactly how I want to make it look. But with all that in mind, if I just put the smokestack in the place where the waste is already being generated, it's not that big of a deal, right? Our current residential area is here. It is a complicated, I'll admit, this is one of the harder spots for me to work out residential areas, because we've got the council hall here, we've got the spaceport here. So both of these generate sort of negative features. We've got crevices over here, which normally I would want for Zethane. Now we've got a crack over here. So one of the other reasons why I want to expand out my headquarters as soon as I can is I can actually probably build a proper fuel turbine. So really there's like no ideal spot for apartments. The least bad would probably be somewhere on this side. And you can do the overlay and just sort of see, this is kind of what we're dealing with here. Actually, this doesn't look so bad on its own. I guess the question is whether or not it'll stay that way, because I am going to have a big highway running through it. Anyways, something for me to consider later, because I'm definitely nowhere near residential area time. But yeah, at some point I am going to need to consider a command center so that I can actually reach this out. I'm also limited in where I can put it, again, because of the inert ruins, so chances are I'll build that here. Oh, sorry, that's not true. I'll build it here because my headquarters is going to expand. Yeah, we're getting close. We get 9 for each of these, so I think I just need 2 more. That's 108, right? Yeah. This is looking a lot cleaner than I thought it was going to, so overall we're looking good. One consideration I can make, in fact, maybe should make, so the normal setup that I have, oh, we're also out of tier 1 minerals. That's a little surprising, to be honest. In this case, probably the mineral patch makes a little more sense. I think I can also afford to I'll keep these that power generation down, or on here. We'll probably have to turn these off while the work's happening, but for now let's max out my, I only need 5 more workers, employees or whatever. Sorry, I'm all over the place in my comments. Yeah, I don't know. The slow trickle of minerals, for some reason, I find slightly more appealing. I think probably I'm just looking at the absolute number. Oh, right. Sorry, I was talking about the new factory design. So, one possible improvement I would consider, because I don't have things efficient enough that things immediately get picked up from an output module and thrown into an input, would be to take the output and stick them on the end here. And this would sort of free up this whole area for storage or, whatever. The drawback of the original design would be that you're dedicating 4 workers to the tier 2 to tier 3 transition, and in practice the time it's going to take for someone to pick up something off of the output module is going to be far longer than any time savings that you'll get from having 2 workers in those slots. So it's like, it's nice to have and it gives you bragging rights, but in practical terms, it doesn't really get you a whole lot. I should have been paying attention to my waste situation. These were originally intended to be temporary. 86 waste, man. Not enough space. Okay, so if I'm dropping anything, I gotta drop this one. That's probably gonna cause me a bunch of headaches, though. Yeah, all my tier 3s and tier 2s are in here. Ugh! Okay. Oh, right. Right. Okay, actually, this reminds me, because I built these out of tier 1. Yeah, I built a lot of stuff out of tier 1s, actually, so there's definitely going to be some rearranging that I need to do. Okay. I'm actually going to have to be a little more strict in terms of finishing, so I am at my 3-hour mark, but I also don't want to end kind of abruptly. I maybe should put like a warning sign on the first episode after a new update, where a lot of this is just sort of like, I feel like I've done the early stages of Industries of Titan so many times on stream, and I haven't actually done the late game that much. So what I'm going to try and do is I'll try to get this transition taken care of. Actually, oh god, this is tough. No, I still want this one. So we'll say no more waste. I just want to see if I can slowly starve this thing. It has occurred to me, though, that I've run out of space for waste for some. Okay. We'll just, we'll expand this out. So the hope would be that now that I've said what's ineligible, that the workers would start sort of transitioning the items from one to the other. I don't think they'll actually do that. So I think I'm just going to have to learn to live with a big waste container. But I did just get a bunch of tier 1 minerals that I had locked up in unproductive uses, and we can upgrade the headquarters. I'll also try to make a little bit of money, but I actually chose a terrible time to upgrade the headquarters, but we'll see whether or not our batteries last long enough. But yeah, I do have, so there's 2 things that I need to do. I have a little bit that I need to finish up for tonight. But I also, just given the way that I was feeling this morning, I really want to make sure that I am getting like a hard like bedtime, turning off every electronic device I possibly can, and like just making sure that I don't feel terrible the next morning. But like I said, I didn't want it to be abrupt, so I'm going to I want to at least kind of close off a couple of I want to close off a couple of projects, and then we can talk about what the next steps are going to be. Also, I can start cleaning up any of the remaining ruins that I had before. So that's 30 influence worth of sort of... I like to think of these as the freebies. Like, obviously, waste is a big problem, but I like to think of these as the most natural places to get resources. The ideal for me is, in this game, to try and... I'm trying to think of the right way to put this. Like, for me, the ideal is to try and use enough of the resources without giving up red artifacts to be able to expand out to the proper sources of mining and just generally where you get the others. Also, it occurred to me, I haven't looked at the victory conditions at all. So, for economic expertise, we need 950 citizens, 100 trucks, 100 upgraded buildings, 3,000 CUs of isotopes, or clear 56 resource patches. And then there's no point in me trying to unlock that corporate goal because I'm not going to get it done on time. Okay, so I'm going to wrap it up here, but I am going to do kind of an extended farewell just to talk about what the next steps are going to be. So basically, I messed up a little bit. Well, not a bit. I messed up a lot in terms of how I approached the rebels. I let them sneak up on me. I wasted a lot of time experimenting with different factory layouts. And I mean, I might find some other stuff, but like where I started off saying that the intention was going to be to try and start and expand very quickly, I sort of got bogged down by, getting inside my own head and just generally focusing on things that weren't immediate needs. But we are in a situation where I'm going to be like, I have a better foundation on which to build. And in fact, there's another important thing that we have found in sort of the layout of the level, which is the mineral node up here. So the immediate goals that I will have. I do think that isotopes are going to be a bit harder to come by. We've got exactly one more patch. Now, it's possible that there will be a few other things that we find through the exploration, but like right now we only have one more isotope patch. Even if we didn't have any other minerals that we could claim, we've got, is it 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 plus the one we're currently working. So clearly minerals are a high priority as far as... what you build things with. We actually have relatively few buildings, for where we're at in the game, but we're able to do what we need. So it's pretty clear here that the isotopes are going to be the priority. And then of course I'm also pretty sanguine about it just because obviously we have mineral patches, which is, in the area that the command center is going to claim. And it turns out it's in line with a goal. The nice thing here is when you clear 56 resource patches, they'll always remain clear, whereas, owning upgraded buildings, the rebels can blow those up on you. So our goal, sort of the short-term goal will be to clear all of this out, to get a highway to the isotope node, and basically have not just a dedicated mining operation, but, mining and refining operation for the isotope node, sort of a secondary city off to the side, and the infrastructure that will maintain it. That means the workers, the employees or the citizens who will be working, generating the cash, kind of a lot of that. now that we know that there is a mineral node, this is a little bit more complicated because we've got sort of a world of cracks and crevices, but in general, this is a pretty good place to be as well. So I'm going to find some way of putting down a command center. I suspect this makes the most sense. There is a small argument to put it here so that I get exposed to a little bit more of this, but honestly, I think probably this is the best place to put the command center. I'll work out exactly how I want to lay out the mine and the refining and all of that. It might actually be that I just do a big highway and that like the mine goes here. I don't know if that's, yeah, that looks pretty open. So it's like, maybe we do something like a mine here, factory here for refining, storage here. Highway runs through it. And like, probably the way I'd do this would be, well, he did say that this was going to be where the housing stuff was, didn't I? So maybe we build the highway somewhere sort of out and around like this. Oh, that's interesting. Well, no, we still want to have a highway that touches the housing, though, so we can get rid of the waste. But yeah, maybe I'd actually wind up driving it along here. I don't know. I'll figure that out as we go by. So as it turns out, it may not be as important. Excuse me. But that's clearly, that's like a secondary consideration. The only thing that makes this mineral node a little bit more attractive to get to as close as I can is the fact that it has access to so much zethane. And specifically zethane that I'm going to be able to double up my my turbines with. Like there isn't necessarily a great spot to double up the turbine with. Now, in fairness, it's not in a very defensible spot. But the way I'm feeling about it right now, honestly, is just clear out the obsidian ruins, move this one spot so it's taken up the 3 rather than just build a second. But that's all stuff that I can think about later. But that's kind of the shape of things to come as far as the game is concerned. I will confess I didn't really run into a whole lot of the new stuff for the UI, although for the new features and that. I do like the new UI improvements as far as the cache management is concerned. Sorry, that's credits. And obviously my failures tonight are really more me just either being a little distracted or trying new things. But I think it's important to try new things. Like it's very easy to get stuck in a rut as far as a game is concerned, and it's nice to try alternative approaches that may or may not work out, because I don't know, like that's at least why I think city builders are interesting. But like I said, this is a long goodbye, and I am getting close to 10:30. So let's see who is online. I have kind of hit the end of my... Uh-oh. Okay, that's fine. I thought I just lost something online, but we should be okay. I know it's been kind of inconsistent. I actually have a suspicion that one of the reasons why it was hard to get the transcoding at the start of the broadcast was because I have not streamed as much lately. So it just happens that a whole bunch of holidays have fallen on Mondays, which means that Stellaris has kind of been getting the short end of the stick. And I will confess, I think after this run, I will be happy to try a different game. One thing I've not been happy about with Industries of Titan is I spend a lot of time starting, but between Phantom Brigade getting updates and other games being played, I don't necessarily go to the end of Industries of Titan, so I would like to spend a little more time with that. And then just in general, it'd be nice to get a bit more variety in the broadcast. So that is something that I'm planning on doing within the next couple of months. I actually have one really specific thing that I'd like to do, but I'm going to keep that under my hat for now. But as far as the schedule is concerned, that is back to sort of being firmed up into what you are used to. So this means Monday will be Stellaris until probably we wrap up that campaign. Wednesdays will be a Brace Yourself game with a slight preference to Industries of Titan if I can. But Phantom Brigade, if that is the one that's more gotten the more recent update. And then Friday we've been doing Darkest Dungeon, but we are getting close to the end. It'll be the first time that I've played to the end of Darkest Dungeon. So if that all sounds good to you, that's when I'll be around. And then, of course, on Tuesdays, there's the pre-recorded Elder Scrolls episode with the Dark Elf voice. Finally, I am going to leave you in the capable hands of Night Valian. He is a soft-voiced Brazilian streamer. He's currently playing Warhammer 40k Mechanicus, which is a neat little turn-based. It's kind of a combination between, I'd say, Darkest Dungeon and XCOM. So it's this nice sort of turn-based strategy game. I think it's an interesting one. But I really need to get some sleep because I know I wasn't at my best tonight. So thank you all for hanging out. I will also say, JJ's Games, if you're still watching, I appreciate you doing that because I know generally timing people out will result in them just simply not engaging. But if you're still hanging around and listening, at least know that I appreciate that because to me, I do not consider timeouts to be permanent things. That is just something that sometimes people will do. So I want to give recognition for things when they turn out as well as, also talk about when I don't think things are working out. And finally, Eyes of Sin, thank you very much for hanging out. I'm going to shut up. Please enjoy Night Valian, and I will hopefully see you all on Friday. Until then.